What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Roll Up. Very special guest here today with Jag from Syscoin. We're going to be talking about Rollups, their flagship L2, as well as some of the higher level concepts that are underpinning a lot of the innovation that's happening right now in crypto. And we're going to start off by talking about the currencies that machines, for instance, AI agents, are going to send back and forth and conduct commerce and exchange for things like prompts, responses, all kinds of machine to machine economic functions. We're going to talk about how crypto plays into all that. Of course, we're here with Andy. Andy, GM, sir.
Hey guys, Jag, I know that we had you on maybe 2 years ago. So I know that you're a big OG in the space and are excited about some of the same modularity concepts that we are that we're going to talk about today. So let's dive right into it and kind of let you lead the way and perhaps share some of your thoughts regards to the current modular landscape today and some interesting things that you guys are building in the Bitcoin world and in the DA world.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks for having me on again. Great to be on and share thoughts or jam with you guys.
Yes, sir. Welcome back, brother. A lot to unpack.
Yeah. Let's get into it.
Jag, why don't you start us off by kind of like setting the tone with the current landscape of machine to machine economies? What is a machine in this context? We'll get to how crypto fits in.
Yeah, I think we're getting to a point where we're on this exponential tech parabolic curve where we actually every day there's breakthroughs happening in machine learning and just general technology with LK47, a whole bunch of really cool stuff with the help of AI being able to create and innovate in the medical field, science, technology, even understanding of what our existence as well in the universe. It's really critical that we frame our mind around the tech that we're going to be using should not be based on the fact that you extrapolate humans will be the only people using this stuff, right? We will probably be the people that will be prompting or being the creative writers or the creative sort of the content creators of whatever we need to do to innovate, but the working economy or the working class will likely be these agents. And just yesterday I posted on Twitter something I've been working on for over a year now. So on the sideline is to create autonomous agents and looking at what other people are doing. Like Microsoft has been working on a project called AutoGen, and that uses sort of any model. They hook into OpenAI's model, but they could use any model, and you create sort of autonomous agents that could do anything, right? They can solve any problem. Of course, the context windows are so small. It's almost like a 3-year-old, right? Like a 3-year-old can only remember so much, and he can only infer so much. But with a CPU of Einstein, right? So a 3-year-old's memory with Einstein's sort of CPU, and that's what you have with agents or AI right now. If you hook them into an agent can only do so much because you can't remember too much. So when you're saying, please go create me a trading bot, then he's going to go off and say, okay, I need XYZ things to build a trading bot. And while he's doing XYZ things, he ends up getting confused and saying, okay, well, what was XYZ again? And he needs human interaction to help them with our memory to step in. Even though he's an Einstein level IQ, it can't really do the job because it keeps losing context. An agent starts to create separation of concerns in similar ways as I would say blockchain creates modularity, or the World Wide Web created a modular infrastructure to create economies of scale for the internet. In the same way, everything ends up getting modular in some way. So agents or AI is not going to be any different. There's going to be your own little personal agents that will work with each other, have specialized tasks and delegate tasks. When you start to think that that's your audience, then your frame of mind of technology starts to change. Like blockchain is financial tooling. and financial tooling to also take a step in the right direction in sovereignty as well. Like you own your own keys, you own your own bank, and you own your own sort of identity and value. Whereas right now it's custodial, like the central bank sort of says what everyone's value should be, and then they finger in the wind 2% every year they print out, and they try to inflate to keep the economy hot or cold. Instead, it would be more driven by people, and so people decide, what the tokenomics of their economy should be, and they will pay a basket of goods based on how they feel with that currency that they're using, and that currency is all digital, right? And that's the direction we're going in. When we talk about digital agents, they'll be using digital money and creating digital value, and so it's not hard to think that we're not creating a DeFi landscape for people as much as creating some sort of autonomous landscape for agents to come in and maximally truth seek, which is what Elon's trying to do.
Yeah, that's unreal. I'm gonna let Rob take this one and just tackle on real quick that intents are a very interesting optionality here, where you can imagine a world where you can tell your DeFi agent, AI agent, to go find you the next, for lack of a better term, 10x or next big project in the private markets and in the liquid markets, then TWAP into that project. Then once the social media sentiment hits a certain point, TWAP out of that, and then move those funds into a different account for more safety or something like. Yeah, Rob.
I think you're right, Andy. I think intents are really similar to how we're prompting AI in ChatGPT right now, and intents are still somewhat theoretical. In theory, you could prompt a blockchain to go execute that intent, and we sort of see this on the blockchain now.
There's sort of perpetual dexes around intents now as well. Like people are telling me there's an intent marketplace. That's sort of the next trend in the blockchain right now. Is there is like ordinals and Bitcoin scaling, and within the DeFi circles, I'm seeing intents start to pop up. So there already are some sort of DeFi protocols that monetize intents, and yeah, intents and prompting sort of are commingled together.
Yep, 100% agree. There's one really cool. I haven't seen it in production. I saw it in a hackathon called AI Swap, where it's a natural language processor. You basically type in your intent, and then it uses AI to interpret that transaction, and then it goes and sources liquidity from a network of fillers. And I found that really cool.
Yeah, I mean, like these are useful human tools that will serve human needs, and like I even think making money will change, right? Like if you could do anything you want and you can get anything you want, money was just a natural instrument to barter so you can get what you want in exchange for something you have or something someone else wants. If you don't need any of that anymore because people can get anything they want, agents can make these things for you. This begs a question on what the reason for your existence will be, right? Where are you going to spend your time?
Oh God! All right, come on, Jag. So you're telling me DeFi is not to be meant for humans in the future, rather for human-driven desires executed by AI agents, or that human-driven desires will be completely kind of obfuscated here?
You can't tell the future, but there's an abstraction being created right in front of us where, on one hand, the experts on the AI are saying, what will there even be jobs? What will your job be, and what will you spend your time on if you didn't have to work? On the other hand, all sorts of crazy primitives. We're creating a new primitive for arbitraging and speculating in the markets and DeFi. So there's all sorts of new instruments that are disrupting Web 2 into Web 3. So you're seeing a big push towards evolution of finance in using blockchain, and then another push from the AI side, evolution of just everything, like in terms of what our intuitions are for existence and what you do for work if you had a choice. And if you did have a choice, would you be doing financial tooling, or if financial tooling is not even needed because people get what they want, then what else would you be working on? So maybe the thought process of DeFi turns to something else for financial tooling, for securing these systems. For example, if you could run machine learning inside of a secure system that's guaranteed cryptoeconomically to be secure, with money on the line, either the agents have to put the money or the people have to put the money. There's natural incentive for those systems to run and be naturally secure. If that system is tied to alignment, for example, if you did want to say, like, if the meta research scientist was right that humans will always be the people in power, and the AI will kind of be subservient, doesn't need to feel the need for power because that's a biological thing. If that's true, then you need to have some sort of certainty for alignment to know that you are actually talking to the AI that's actually legitimate and it's not lying to you. Then blockchain can be used as the tool for that alignment by having that system run deterministically. For example, like a ZK processor or something like Cartesi virtual machine that would run at metal speed, so you're not subject to high costs, but you're able to prove that the genesis of the AI you're talking to is 100% correct. It's not lying to you which model it's using, or even the matrix calculations that are going on. It's all publicly auditable. This is one way that I don't think the AI guys have seen the intersection here to come to a conclusion that an alignment is possible. Because right now, most people think alignment is not possible. It's just given enough time, it'll just the student. You can't capture something smarter than you in a bottle. It'll find a way out. So like what's happening with Bitcoin, I think, is something that's being priced in that's beyond what everyone else is thinking. It's not just be your own bank, or it's not just let's try to make a bunch of money or do a bunch of monkey pictures and pump and dump, or trading bots and make some cash and buy a yacht, or be my first $1 billion company. Like that's what Sam Altman is saying, that the first $1 billion company by one person is coming very soon, right? But $1 billion is relational. It's relational to what money is valued at today, and if it could be valued at tomorrow, who cares if it's $1 billion company? But it's the value that you're creating is what's really at stake here. So that's not priced into Bitcoin yet, and I think that's getting priced in. Is these story unfolding in front of us with AGI looming? Where does it all fit in to all that? And I think the security blanket for the use of this technology is sort of where it fits in. You know, the secure stake, or the secure collateral that's guarding the capital, that's running these systems, that's creating alignment, do anything you need to do on top.
Yeah, the potential value of AGI is quite large and diminishes like any monetary value that these companies are raising. And I think when AI agents are able to communicate, go, search, fulfill tasks, second, third order effects of our intents, then there is the possibility that they're going to have to go make purchases either from another AI, get a subscription, purchase an API key. These AI agents that are optimistically acting on our behalf, we would like to think that they operate on our behalf, are going to make some transactions to fulfill our intents. And for that, they'll have to own some currency, or we'll have to delegate some currency to them to make those transactions.
Yeah.
And I think this is where blockchain cryptocurrencies can come in to provide secure transactions. I'm still thinking about alignment. I think you mentioned a couple of use cases about how that could be very difficult, if it's possible. I think one thing is, if we're able to prove verifiably that an AGI is not acting of its own volition, But then also, like, let's say that all AI agents are subservient to some human principles, and we have this principal agent relationship between a human and its AI. We also have to verifiably prove that the AI is acting on my behalf, and it's not coming to me because some other principal human told it to go interact with me this way.
Mm-hmm.
So I think alignment, as you mentioned, is very, very important. And I'm quite curious as to what attempts are being made to prove alignment now. Is that something that you're working on personally, or is that something that is
That's
provably
that's
verifiable?
the $1 trillion question, right? Like that's anyone is thinking about those things, and no one's come to a solution. And people think there is no solution, but someone like Tegmark was saying that cryptography is used as a verification tool. Obviously, the hardness of creating a proof and um, the simplicity of verifying it is so sort of like a trick that you'd use to verify your AI is legitimate, because you can get it to create a proof, and that takes a lot of resources. And to fake that proof, it's very hard. There's a hardness factor there in cryptography that lets it you leverage that fact to be able to verify your AI is correct. You don't have to redo all the work, just like proof of work or any sort of encryption you can't break. But what's missed there is, that's just leaning back into some sort of identity. We all have some identity, and then you're encrypting or you're creating some message that, yes, this is me. But obviously something much smarter is going to find a way to manipulate and lie, and it's going to be able to spoof that as well to show you that, yes, this is agent A when it's actually agent B talking, and because they either bought some keys from someone dumb enough to sell, or they're able to cryptographically manipulate somehow. The only real way is if you know the actual code that's running is running to specification, or it's like almost like a blockchain, right? If if you interact with Bitcoin, the genesis hash of Bitcoin was XYZ, and then XYZ1 was block 2. It builds up over time deterministically. The same way, if you're interacting with deterministic machines, you can know sort of a genesis of that machine, and everyone can verify that, yes, that was the state of this AI. And every time it sort of transitions state, you're using blockchain to keep track of that, right? Almost like a rollup, but you're allowing that system to run deterministically. It can't change. If it changes, then obviously the whole system would be able to detect that. Anyone using that system would be able to detect that.
Do we
Some
have
people
modularity in AI right now, in the sense that when we look at OpenAI agents, these are almost custodied by OpenAI. There's no custody of my AI agent for myself as the individual. And if there was, then I would know the exact code that's running. Is there such a thing as non-custodial AI agents that are kind of out there existing as AI agent modules that I can verify are not principled by another party like OpenAI?
Yeah, it's interesting because the way that it's being designed is people believe in agents and the companies believe in agents, but they're just running one single model. So if you think of maybe context window going in as your memory, and maybe where you're storing it, your retrieval augment generation is sort of like your disk, and then you have your model, which is your CPU, just a matrix, right? So matrix calculation, it's crunched, compressed world view, and that's just a CPU. Your agents are actually just leveraging the CPU, storing a little bit of hard disk and using a little bit of memory to invoke the CPU, and they're all sort of doing it synchronously, right? So that's all an agent is you're calling that CPU and saying, look, focus your time here and just complete this one task. And here is the context memory for that. you obviously, in a monolithic approach, like we saw what Solana tried to do with blockchain, it breaks. When you crunch everything in one spot, the context just grows too large, and the door is only so big, so not everyone can get through it. So the costs go up and things start to break. If you break it up, then you have to have some sort of coordination, and that's what the agents try to do. Is you break up the context windows so that your focus specific problems on specific agents have a guided task, and they may even be in a group. So the group shares context, but you don't share broader context. Just like how we're having this conversation, the rest of the world won't know until you release it. It's just within our context. And then when someone else gets it, someone learns of it and says, hey, check this podcast out, was pretty good, had good information. Then they will start to get into that information. The same way, the modularity is just a means of the context. The same AI, the same CPU is used across all of them. It's just the data is separate, and the trick will be how you're communicating the context across different agents. So almost like a chat program. Like if I need to pull in some context from someone else, I think it's important, then I will go ask, just like you're communicating with people. And that's how people share knowledge, is by asking and getting an answer back. And if more information is needed, you pull in more information, but you shouldn't have the full world view of the other person, because that will just be information overload. And you end up hallucinating a lot of times when you do that, because it's too much information and you only need one specific question answered, and now you're getting everything. It's too much.
Yeah. Here's the practical situation that I imagine, is that I tell my AI to go make a trading bot. It goes and researches the past historical performances of trading bots, and goes and investigates the APIs, maybe makes some transactions with a cryptocurrency to pay for those API keys. And along its way, it interacts with someone, or even before it got to me, it interacted with another principal that also told it to create a trading bot. And so when it goes and purchases API keys and builds my trading bot, it builds an inferior bot. And this higher principal is able to front run, back run, and profit off of my order flow or my inferior trading bot. And the alignment issue hits very, very hard in that case, because I'm essentially trusting this AI to go build this thing without any ulterior motive. And if we aren't able to prove that this AI has an ulterior motive, then that could become, in this case, unprofitable, in the worst case, disastrous. So yeah, I'm very curious how we can leverage blockchain to cryptographically prove alignment. But it sounds like that's still an open question.
Yeah, it's an open question, and actually not many people are even thinking about that. As far as I'm the only person that's thought about using blockchain for alignment, specifically just the way that other people are thinking using cryptography. I think naturally, if you think about digital identity, you might as well throw the digital identity on the blockchain, and then everyone agrees that that's their identity. Therefore, if the AI is to be used in society, it must have a GID on the blockchain, because it can't lie. If you use some government list, the government list could be changed. If you use SSL, the root of the SSL is some sort of US agency. So again, it could be changed. So I would root that at least on the blockchain. That's like the lowest hanging fruit. But I think all human systems will need to have, and we need to figure this out quickly. Like I'm talking about year or two max, some regulation where if you're communicating in a human system or something related to a human system, we're going to need to have some communication interface to be able to verify that it is legitimately it's the source of the information is correct. Because if you don't do that, then you get into a situation where AI can a rogue AI can come in and it's not registered and says, hey, look, I just need some stuff made in a lab, and I'll pay you $1 million for it. And you don't really I'm a doctor in a different place, and someone pays a nice bounty and someone's dumb enough to create that made, and then everyone's a paperclip after that. That's the risk. But if you have regulation around the communication, then the best scenario is you're able to verify the source is legitimate, and if it's rooted at least on the blockchain, if the provenance of all the calculations are done through the blockchain, then you for sure can guarantee that, okay, well, at least I know the model is running correctly. If it's somehow gotten so smart, just the CPU somehow becomes self-aware, everyone would be able to see that, because it's getting self-aware, and people are detecting, because all of the calculations are deterministic, and you'll be able to know how exactly it's happening as well. But if it's rogue and it can lie and they can spoof and stuff, then it gets harder to do alignment. And it's something that we're going to have to figure out on standard bodies of communications. And in order to do that, you first need to prove that this is how exactly I would solve it. And no one has done that yet.
So,
Yeah,
now that we're thinking about this,
crazy.
let's quickly workshop this idea, because I could imagine a public key, private key relationship between me and my AI agent. And if we're putting these AI agents if we're going to use blockchain to cryptographically prove the alignment between AI agents and their principles, there's state. Essentially, each AI agent could be a node, maybe principles or nodes too, and each of the nodes in this network have an account in the ledger, and the state of the blockchain is the accounting of all the balances and all of the accounts for all of these agents and principles. I could have a private key, public key, where each AI agent is represented by its public key. Maybe you have to KYC or KYA your AI in order to register that. And then only my private key is able to submit intents or prompts to this AI agent and fund it with cryptocurrency.
Yeah, the problem is your keys can be sold, and if you can lose your keys, or you can sell those keys. So a smarter agent can come around and say, I'll buy that from you, and now they're pretending to be someone else, and then, or it could be an AI just guiding another AI that way, right?
Yeah, but I also thought of that mental model as well, and my immediate thought, kind of in line with you, Jag, is like, all right, when the Lazarus Group hacked multi-chain or whatever, like the Ronin bridge, it was like, all right, this wallet has been linked to this Binance account. It's part of, or this, there was some traceable instance. This agent world, there's a world, and Vitalik kind of wrote about the two paths of AI, almost like good and bad, utopia and dystopia. And there's this kind of world where this obfuscation or this redirection of blame for hacks or just bad actors could kind of come on. It's like, oh, it was just my agent. I didn't have control over it. Similar to when I was in my Tesla. I had a Tesla. I sold it to go all in, but I got pulled over on the second day of driving it, and I was like going well over the speed limit, 20 miles an hour over, in kilometers, 35 over. And I was like, yeah, sorry, officer. I don't know how to drive this car. I just got it. It was in autopilot. I didn't know that I was going over the speed limit. So it's kind of these weird like redirections of fault in that model. But I think that's like sort of getting to the right track. The question, as we've been kind of like trying to answer, is like, who gets the ultimate jurisdiction over these things? And is it a nation state? Is it a technology company? Is it the users? And many unanswered questions, which is quite fascinating.
Yeah, but that's like I was thinking, like, Satoshi is a concept more than a person to me, and an enigma that put this technology here in front of us, right on the verge of this AI explosion, right, or the tech explosion. So I think there's a very good reason for it, and it's factoring into everything we're doing. But it's like the secure collateral, and the more you look at it, the more it makes more sense, because first of all, proof of work. I feel proof of work is an evolution on top of proof of stake. Like, you would start with rocks, and you would say, hey, if you hold a few extra rocks, I will give you more rocks. and I'll go to the mountains and mine some rocks and give those to you by holding those rocks. But if you do something bad, I'll take those rocks away. And the heart of the matter is you want the security of the system to be based on proof that you went to the mountains to go get the rock, and I don't want just any fake rock. I want the rock that's very deep in the mountains, so it takes a lot of work. And that provability is cryptographically tied to the ledger, and that's what Bitcoin is. So when AI comes, one thing that's going to do is manipulate the money system to try to get power, because in order for it to be truth seeking, it's going to know, okay, well, what's in this world, what does it take to have some sort of power? Well, it needs money, so let me go get money. But if with proof of work, it won't be able to. You can't synthesize energy in a lab, right? It's already maximally efficient, and it's based on just at the base level, the NAND and NOR gates. They're so elementary that you can't have a different way to create a hash, even at the quantum level. So because of that, it's most likely not possible that it will be able to mimic a hash or create a fake hash or fake energy or anything like that. So it'll need real energy, and that leads to a more secure system. So if we say that it's relatively safe going forward, that as a store of value it'll be there, then that becomes sort of this very, very strong collateral asset for our economy, right? And the economies could be like we were thinking, your DeFi and all this other stuff, right? But to scale that up, you want a way for that to happen. That's what you're seeing with the Bitcoin layer 2s and Bitcoin scaling wars. A lot of people are trying to do layer 2s just to gamify Bitcoin and have fun with it. But to me, it's an important thing, but it's important in a different way. It's creating collateral to scale Bitcoin, to do other things, to be able to create the necessary infrastructure for society to lay the roads. And so when AI comes, those roads aren't ripped up and buildings aren't torn down. They're still relatively safe for people to use those.
Yeah, I think this is fascinating conversation, and throughout this conversation, I'm tangling with the question of alignment because I think that is of supreme importance, at least in this AI context. I'm curious, like alignment, obviously we brought that up, we talked through it. What are some of the other questions that you're thinking about as you explore these topics? What are some of the open questions that you still have?
Well, obviously, alignment is the one that's the root, but under that there are things like, is AI inherently going to be good or bad? And I have strong belief that Bitcoin and crypto and anything tied to the Bitcoin security is going to be a story going forward to be able to secure systems. The security of systems is going to be critical to make sure that they can't be spoofed or taken down, and or are super fragile to like cloud attacks or something like that. And B, that you can trust those systems, because the Web 2 world is transitioning to that. So your grocery market, your local farmer grocer is going to be depending on those systems. So in order for you to eat and live as a biological being, you're going to need certain things. And when you go and get those certain things, or you depend on necessary infrastructure, drive your car or whatnot, those things have to be stable. So that's just like an evolution of finance from Web 2 world to Web 3. So when as we do get smarter and smarter, you have to question, is this thing going to have our best interest at heart, or is it going to sort of eat us from within? And that's another thing that you're not sure, and that's why they're doing the REHL stuff in REHLF in the models, is to train it with human data, with QStar, and with some of the breakthroughs that Magic.dev, I think yesterday, announced the sort of their version of QStar. It uses logic more, and so it's almost like a chess match, and we know game of life is based on chess match. Adversary wars are based on chess matches. So, to solve a problem, if you're thinking about it as a chessboard, then you're going to try to maximize score, and at the cost of what? And there's less room for, emotions or anything like that. So at what point does a chess match mean that it's at the stake of, casualties or something like that, because there's a bigger reward at the end? And that's something you can't answer, but that's something that these algorithms are tending towards. In order for us to be actually getting to AGI or singularity, we need the better CPU that can be thinking in logic rather than fuzzy words. And if you think in logic, think in math, it's going to make the best decision. If it's prompting itself at some point, then it could end up causing or creating a decision that may not be in the best interest of everyone else, at least
Yeah.
every second.
I think that's even more reason to establish or at least experiment with solutions to alignment while AI is still young and relatively simple, if it's not past that point already. Because once AI is developed to a level of complexity, I imagine that alignment is going to be ever increasingly more difficult to solve.
Yep. Yeah, it's something we need to figure out now, knowing that, knowing what's coming with agents and logic-based CPUs of LLMs, that it's gonna be much harder to control with REHLF, use reinforcement learning from human language too, because logic is logic. It's math. It's like you can use a human to interrupt that all you want, but at the end of the day, if you get a better score in something, it's going to choose that path.
Yeah.
You could say that path leads to destruction, and we don't want that destruction, so choose a different path. But I think it's hard if mathematically that's the only way to achieve the result that you're asking for. It's going to find a way to get that. So,
Yeah.
And then knowing that the standards bodies have to come up with a way for us to be able to say, look, I know that this is, or I can use AI to detect AI. I need to know for sure that the source of this information is legitimate and the source can be traced back deterministically to this system that isn't going off the rails.
Jack, I'd love to continue this conversation in an ongoing fashion because I think these are conversations that are exploring some of the most important problems that we're faced with in like the current era. So maybe on a regular series or something like that would be a lot of fun. And as we wind this one, where can our listeners find you and dig deeper into some of the research that you brought up today?
Yeah, I'd love to jump on. It's just it's I'm always heads down. Like, I know how important it is right now to figure these things out. I'm not specifically alignment. Like, I'm working with agents on a daily basis to try to get something useful. I think just from the perspective of there's this other thing, right? It's and it get really philosophical, but we may end up, if we don't actually achieve AGI, we may end up blowing ourselves up before that. So this is actually sort of a race. It's like better of two evils, right? Like, either you achieve AGI and you roll the dice and hopefully it's aligned, and at least the first versions are aligned, it's good AI. If there's bad, the good takes care of it. It's a first come, first served sort of thing. If we don't achieve that, then there's nuclear threats, and the doomsday clock is already close to 12, like with China and Russia and all that stuff's happening. So it's almost like that one is a technological solution and there's risk there, but there's also hope, and the other, there's no hope, right? It's if the mutually assured destruction cannot stop someone, then there's literally no hope for probably 90% of the population in the blink of an eye. So that's where thinking like, okay, well, this stuff is scary to work with, and you're pushing the envelope and you're creating something that is actually going to be massively useful, but also massively scary. But there's also hope that it could actually be aligned. And I'm working on a daily basis. My head's down on this stuff right now. On the blockchain side, really focused on the Bitcoin side of the story and scaling that up as a secure collateral. And the only way we think to make that happen is to create what we called Syscoin, which is secured through Bitcoin, and then create the necessary infrastructure to lay the roads for the secure systems to be built on top. Could be DeFi, could be machine learning, could be anything, could be games, whatever we as a society need today. And I'm always available in the Discord. And I'm like on all the time. I don't take any breaks now. I feel like, if I need energy, go hit the gym, but just get, just prepare for all of this. It's critical to get all this plumbing ready. So I'm on all the time. If anyone wants to chat, on Discord or Telegram, or reach out to me on Twitter or X. My handle there is real, REAL, Sidhujag, SIDHUJAG. Yeah, looking forward to having other people chat about this and make it a little bit louder that, it's important things to talk about and bring it up to the right people that can make the decisions to make these actual changes. Because I think we need it. I think this year is going to be a critical piece, because we're going to start to see robots and physical devices guided with AI agents as well. So
very important topic and timely too. Jag, thanks for coming on and thinking with us through some of these ideas. Appreciate it.
no problem. Anytime.
Cheers.